Overseas voting for the upcoming 2022 elections kicked off on Sunday. We have Greg Gregorio live in Manila to tell us how that's going so far. Hi Greg, good afternoon. How many overseas Filipinos were able to vote yesterday?
Sean, the COMELEC has yet to release the number of registered overseas absentee voters who actually voted during the first day of the overseas absentee voting. But what we have so far is that in Hong Kong, there were about 3,200 registered overseas absentee voters who actually voted on the first day. If we are to talk about the total number of registered voters or registered overseas absentee voters across many countries, we have 1.6 or more than 1.6 million that we are expecting to vote during this 30-day voting period for overseas absentee voting. Sean?
And Greg, were there any issues reported during the first day of overseas voting apart from overcrowding?
Yes, Sean, the COMELEC has monitored a number of issues. This include the long queues in Hong Kong, which led to a midday cutoff implemented by the Hong Kong police. The Philippine Consulate General in Hong Kong explained that the cutoff was implemented by the Hong Kong police due to a failure to abide by the anti-COVID-19 measures, because we have to remember that this overseas absentee voting is happening in Hong Kong amid this fifth wave of the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. Apart from this issue, the COMELEC has also monitored an issue of a pre-shaded ballot given to an absentee voter in Singapore. But COMELEC said they have to verify this issue, as pre-shaded ballots is impossible to be given to a voter, because there are protocols, there are procedures that should have been done for them to make sure that these ballots are clear before a voter could use it for voting. Sean?
All right, and while we wait for the COMELEC to settle that issue in Singapore, or in the consulate in Singapore, with regard to that pre-shaded ballot, will the COMELEC be setting up additional voting precincts in order to accommodate more overseas voters in a quicker fashion? And if they are, Greg, which areas will they be implementing these in?
Sean, we were able to talk to Commissioner Marlon Casquejo, who is in charge on the overseas absentee voting. And according to him, they will be adding 5 more vote counting machines in Hong Kong to cater more absentee voters in each day. As we all know, yesterday there were only about more than 3,200 voters who actually voted in Hong Kong, having 5 operating vote counting machines. But in order to cater more, or up to 5,000 voters in a day, COMELEC Commissioner Marlon Casquejo said they will be allotting 5 more, and then thus we will be having 10 vote counting machines in Hong Kong. Sean?
All right, now another issue that has cropped up, Greg, in the first day of overseas voting, these so-called overseas exit polls that have been making their rounds online, are these legit?
Sean, according to the COMELEC, they would have to subject this so-called exit polls to the investigation to be done by the task force contra fake news. COMELEC Commissioner George Garcia said they would have to verify if these exit polls, or they would have to verify from where or from whom these exit polls came from. COMELEC Commissioner Garcia further explained that exit polls released prior to the end of the polling day is clearly a violation to the election laws if it is done here in the Philippines. But if it is done in other countries, there are complications as to where was it done? Was it done inside the premises of the embassy or the consulate, and or if it is done outside? Because if it is done outside the deemed extension of territory of the Philippines, then laws would have to be clarified before we would be able to address this exit polls. But in the end, the COMELEC want to remind the public that exit polls must not be believed, as this does not really reflect what has been voted or have been voted by our overseas absentee voters who started voting since yesterday. Sean?
All right, on the matter, Greg, of gun ban exemptions, of course, the COMELEC has finally issued guidelines. Can you tell us which officials are exempted from this ban?
Sean, actually, the COMELEC has released an amendment to their guidelines on issuing or granting exemptions from gun ban. And according to Chairman Saidamen Pangarungan, the recent amendment or amendment to a resolution relating to the guidelines pertaining to gun ban and security details banning, Saidamen Pangarungan said, senior officials of the government, starting from the Vice President of the Philippines, Senate President, members of the Senate, House Speaker, members of the House of Representatives, members of the Supreme Court, justices from the court, from other courts, and as well as election officers from the National Bureau of Investigations, are already given automatic exemption from the ongoing gun ban as implemented during this election period. But according to Saidamen Pangarungan, they just have to file a list of firearms and security details that they will be using or utilizing during this election period. Pangarungan also emphasized that this aims to ensure that these individuals would be free from fear or pressure in performing their mandate in absence of firearms or security details. Sean?
Right, thank you so much for that update, and stay safe out there. Greg Gregorio reporting to us live from Manila.